All right, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Akeem here to give you my top 30 running back rankings for the 2017 fantasy football season. I have a great list for you guys, and I will say this was actually the hardest group that I had to assemble as far as my top overall players. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, particularly from numbers 15 through 30. I'm going to start off at number 30 with Mike Gillislee coming from the New England Patriots. They just acquired him from the Buffalo Bills. I think that was a great pickup to replace LeGarrette Blount, who signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's going to be used more like LeGarrette Blount, particularly in goal line situations and as the running back with the capability of catching the football out of the backfield, but they still remain using Dion Lewis and James Wright as good scat wide receivers. And number 29, a player that some people look at as a sleeper, and Paul Perkins coming out of the New York Giants. This team has high hopes on this kid. I kind of feel the same, but he's not an every down back. They need another running back who could give you some tough yardage in between the tackles. I'm not having too much faith in Paul Perkins carrying a heavy load. At number 28 from the Washington Redskins, I'm going to go with Rob Kelly. He actually has shown some great games last season, particularly in that matchup against the Green Bay Packers at home. He rushed for over 130 yards in that game, and I believe a couple of touchdowns. I think he's a good, solid running back. I believe he's just like Paul Perkins, like a better half of a tandem, but we will see. And they did pick up Samaje Perine coming out of Oklahoma in this past season's draft, but it is Rob Kelly who should get most of the carries, even with Samaje Perine as a rookie. At number 27 from the Seattle Seahawks, and they acquired Eddie Lacy. Now he just needs to maintain his weight. He's been having big time weight issues. He even got a couple of bonuses for making weight, which is kind of sad thing to say, but hey, I do congratulate him just to maintaining his weight, but he just has to keep everything together. If he gets too big, well, too fat, he's not going to be capable of running the football effectively. He needs to keep his weight and keep control of his body. At number 26, Spencer Ware from the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, he actually had a couple of good games last season for me in particular, which I picked up from free agency, and he actually had a couple of great games to help me out in my games. At number 25, Adrian Peterson from the for the New Orleans Saints. Mark Ingram is still the number one back. Even though they picked up Adrian Peterson, he is old in running back years in the National Football League. Let's not doubt that. He's past 30. I believe he is past his prime, but we will see. He is a hard-working player. He did return from a torn ligament and was MVP, but that was a couple of years ago. And let's not forget about that. But Mark Ingram is that number one guy. Number 24, Old Man River, another old man running back, but still doing his thing. Frank Gore from the Indianapolis Colts. He is a future Hall of Famer, over 13,000 yards rushing. Number 23 from the Cincinnati Bengals, and Joe Mixon. Now, I was told they no longer have Jeremy Hill, so Joe Mixon, the second round pick coming out of OU. I think he could have a big-time season, kind of like Giovanni Bernard a couple years back in his first two seasons, but Bernard had to deal with some injuries, not playing too well, battling carries between him and Jeremy Hill. But Joe Mixon now in the mix. I think that Mixon can have a great rookie year. Possibly a sleeper for Rookie of the Year. At number 22, I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey coming out of the Carolina Panthers. Now, this kid is either a boom or a bust. I don't see him as an in-between. I think he's going to be either a star in the NFL or a stud, because I think too many players, particularly, I'm going to say what it is. I'm going to really speak my mind. The fact that he is a Caucasian running back, I think a lot of teams are going to be keen on him and not allowing him to have a great career. I'm not trying to be racist or nothing like that, but I'm just really going to be speaking my mind. This is a spectacular Reggie Bush type running back. I really think he's going to blow more than bust. I think he's going to be a star in the National Football League. But like I said, he's either going to be a star or a bust. I don't see him as an in-between. At number 22, Danny Woodhead from the Baltimore Ravens. They acquired him. Now, he is a great receiver out of the backfield, and for PPR leagues, he is actually a top 15 caliber type running back. Yes, and I do think they're going to use him more. I think they're going to start off with Terrence West running the football at the start of the season, but I do know that Danny Woodhead is going to get his this year. And number 20 from the Minnesota Vikings and their draft pick and Dalvin Cook, I think he's going to have a pretty good year. He had a couple of good carries in his first preseason matchup. I do wish him the best of luck. At number 19, Adrian Peterson's new teammate and Mark Ingram from the New Orleans Saints. He had over 1,000 yards last season, and he's a good receiver out of the backfield. This is more of a pass caliber team, but they do run the football effectively. I think they have a good offense, and look out for them to make the playoffs this year. I'm actually going to give you a little bit of a prediction on that. I actually see them as a playoff team. Just got to get their defense together. At number 18 from my Niners, Carlos Hyde. I think he's a solid running back. He just needs to stay healthy. Please just stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he will be effective. And they actually been running the football pretty well this past in their first preseason matchup. They did pull off a victory in their first preseason game. At number 17, the player that I mentioned in my quarterback video, Ezekiel Elliott. I got a story to tell you guys. Just before the suspension, the 6-game suspension, I actually had my first draft from one of my leagues, and I picked him in my first round. Even though I kind of knew he was going to get suspended, but I really thought he was going to get suspended like 2 games. But 6 games, I had him as my number 4, actually my number 3 running back entering this season. But then with this suspension, I had to drop him at 17. And you see me like, I want to shoot myself in the head right now with making that pick, man. And I'm not a Cowboy fan, and they screwed me over with that situation. Now he's suspended with 6 games. Run DMC, look out for him. He's not in my top 30. Talk about Darren McFadden. He is going to be a great replacement for the first 6 weeks of the season. But look out. Zeke the Freak will emerge when he comes back into the league. At number 16, I'm going to have to go with Leonard Fournette coming out of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This rookie, I think he actually had a touchdown in his first preseason game, so it shows that he's a goal line threat. Touchdown, that's 6 points. Hey, I think he's going to be have a solid rookie season. At number 15, former New England Patriot running back LeGarrette Blount, who led the league with 18 rushing touchdowns. I think I did a reach on this one. I wasn't really feeling him in the top 15, but I had to crack him because he's such a goal line running back. And let's not forget they still have Darren Sproles, but he is that feature. He should be that feature back this season, come at the start of the season. Let's not forget about Ryan Matthews, who just can't stay healthy. And number 14, I'm gonna have to go with Lamar Miller from the Houston Texans. Despite the fact that they picked up my fellow Texas running back Dante Foreman, this is still Lamar Miller's show. He will be the starting running back in Week 1. At number 13, a player who I believe is going to have a big season, a sleeper type season, Ty Montgomery from the Green Bay Packers. He actually bulked up to look more like a true running back, and they will use him in different offensive sets, running the football and being a receiver. Let's not forget he did start off his career as a wide receiver before converting to the running back position. At number 12, Todd Gurley from the the LA Rams. The LA Rams offensive line, they actually had a couple of new key additions, and I think they're going to have to rebound from what they did last season compared to Gurley's rookie season. I think he's going to have a good year. At number 11 from the Cleveland Browns, who had actually a pretty decent season, Isaiah Crowell. He finished 14th overall in points for running backs last season in fantasy play, according to ESPN. And he actually proved that he is the number 1 running back in that depth chart over Duke Johnson for the Cleveland Browns. I think he could have a good season. That's why I put him at number 11. At number 10 from the New York Jets, Bilal Powell. I think this is a great athlete. He's a great receiver coming out of the backfield. He even can use as a slot wide receiver. Just another guy, he just needs to stay healthy. He is an effective running back, but he is pretty much the best offensive weapon for the Jets, and I know that a lot of teams is going to isolate him and key on him and stopping him because that Jets offense is horrific. They need a star at quarterback, which is not going to happen anytime soon. At number 9, I'm going to have to go with old school beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. Took a year off, decided to come back. I think that Oakland's gonna make a good run this year for the Super Bowl. I think this is a Super Bowl contending type team. They do have the return of Khalil Mack, last season's Defensive Player of the Year winner. Number 8, I'm gonna have to go with DeMarco Murray from the Tennessee Titans. Now I did read a lot of rumors that Derrick Henry is gonna expect more carries this season, but I still had to crack DeMarco in the top 10 overall. But if DeMarco Murray is hurt, Derrick Henry is a solid backup to pick up in the later rounds for your respected leagues. At number 7, I had to go with Devontae Freeman coming out of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, they do have Tevin Coleman, who's a great running back, but Freeman is looking to get a nice, huge chunk contract, and he is due for a great season. At number 6, I'm going to have to go with Jay Ajayi coming out of Miami Dolphins. He finished 11 overall in points, and I believe he had 3 200 yards rushing performances, 3 last season. Now, I forgot to mention you guys about Ajayi. He did have to deal with a little bit of concussion-like symptoms already in the preseason, but he should be ready in week 1 of this year. At number 5, from the Chicago Bears, Jordan Howard. He had a great rookie season, over 1,600 yards of total yards from scrimmage, and I think that he is the key in the offense, and they still got to get things together at quarterback. It's between Mike Glennon and Mitch Trubisky, who had a great game in his first game in the preseason, but he still has a lot of things to learn at quarterback, so Mike Glennon possibly will be the starter at the early of the season until Mitch Trubisky takes over later on. At number 4, Melvin Gordon from the Los Angeles Chargers. He finished 7th overall in points despite missing the final games of the season. He had just under 1,000 yards rushing, and he had a great year, and he will get more carries this season. At number 3, 4th overall last season, and LaShawn McCoy. Shady had a big season for me. He actually helped out. He was actually my 2nd round pick of last season's draft. At number 2, I'm gonna have to go with Le'Veon Bell from the Pittsburgh Steelers. At first, I decided to go with him at number 1, but then I decided to change things up and went with Le'Veon Bell at number 2. And obviously, the debate was between him and my new number 1, David Johnson from the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this team is actually expecting him to get between 350 and 400 touches this season, and he was an All-Pro last season. I think he's going to be due for another great year. I believe at least 1,700 yards of total offense and 16 total touchdowns. I think he will still be in the top 3 overall fantasy points this season. He is a great running back coming out of Northern Iowa. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys will be in a couple minutes. The next blog I'm going to talk about is my top 30 wide receivers. Thank you for watching this blog. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.